Alhamdulillah, Allah made it possible for me to go on Hajj this year for the very first time. And I just wanted to share with you some memorable moments from my pilgrimage to Mecca and Medina. Sorry about my voice. There are four really memorable moments. There could have been many other choices made, so many memorable moments, really, but here are just four of them. Firstly, perhaps surprisingly, was hearing the Adhan in the Masjid al-Haram, the sacred mosque, like for the very first time, in the most beautiful voice I have ever heard. It was clear, powerful, majestic. Every single word really hit home with renewed force. That for me was a surprising moment, a beautiful moment in the sacred mosque. And secondly, it's a remarkable feature of the Hajj that every pilgrim must put on the two pieces of unsewn cloth, the ihram, one knotted around the waist and the other thrown over the shoulder. I'm sure you've seen photographs. And in doing so, I think we put aside our worldly identity, our nationality, rank, and so on. And from that moment on, king and commoner, president and road sweeper, rich and poor are indistinguishable from one another. All such distinctions have been left behind. And it's a remarkable egalitarian moment in Islam when, we all share that common human identity before our creator. And this extraordinary clothing, the ihram, helps to express that in a very striking way. So that was another very notable experience for me in the Hajj. And thirdly, I was hugely privileged to visit the King Abdul Aziz Kiswa factory of the noble Kaaba. And I was allowed to sew a golden thread into the cloth. Here you can see it happening. The black pure silk clothing for the Kaaba, called Kiswa, is created anew every single year. And it's embroidered with silver wires, painted with glittering gold, with which Quranic verses and supplications are written. The clothing is used to cover the Kaaba, the sacred house. And that was truly an unforgettable experience. And fourthly, visiting Al-Masjid Al-Nawabi, the Prophet's Masjid, and his grave in Medina. And I was struck how physically close I now was to the undoubtedly greatest human being who has ever walked the earth. It was an extraordinary privilege to be so close, and of course to pass by the tomb as well, as many of us did. And also it's such a stunning piece of architecture, the masjid there, like the haram in Mecca, mostly made out of pure marble, with gold fixtures, incredible carpets. I've been to many beautiful buildings around the world. When I was a Christian, I went to St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican, itself an extraordinary piece of architecture. But these two masjid are much grander and bigger and far more beautiful and visited by far more people. There are no tourists visiting the Kaaba, of course. Everyone is a Muslim, but in the Vatican, you get loads of tourists who come along just to have a gawp at the statues. So I was generally impressed with the majesty and the beauty and even the simplicity of both of the mosques in Saudi Arabia. Now, inevitably, there were some challenges and trials for me too. And I think the most notable was the extreme heat. That was my biggest daily challenge. I mean, it was in the mid-40s centigrade every day without fail. It never rained, of course. I mean, it's the summer there now. And even at night, you had a low of, 38 degrees centigrade. And so going out was quite a challenge. I had to be very careful, as we all were. Had umbrellas, we had sunblock, but it was very, very extreme heat. Compared to in London now, I got back yesterday from Saudi Arabia, I think it's about 17, 18 degrees centigrade during the day. Compare that with Saudi Arabia, it's more than double that. So I think that was one of the biggest challenge I had was the heat. I understand it gets a much cooler, relatively speaking, during the months of December, January, February, that kind of time. Anyway, I just want to share with you just a few of the memorable moments from my remarkable pilgrimage to Mecca. There were several million people there. It was a huge number of people. The organizers of the whole thing deserve credit for ensuring that everyone was kept safe. To my knowledge, there was no, there were no casualties, there were no deaths or anything. Huge numbers of people coming together, millions every year, is a huge logistical nightmare, I would think. But the authorities appear to have done it very successfully. It wasn't always done so well in the past, I think, but there were some issues. But now they've got it down to a fine art, I think. So very grateful for that too. Anyway, that's the end of that. Thank you. Alhamdulillah.